On today's show, Bradley Beal is back with the Clippers. A lot of Clipper fans think he's going to have a big role. But I got a special guest that doesn't necessarily agree with what everyone's saying. We're going to be talking about that coming up on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. My name is Darian Vaziri, also known as Dime Dropper. And today, I'm going to be bringing on a special guest to talk about what our roster looks like now. Guys, at the end of it, whether Bennedict Mathurin is expected to come back. We're also going to be talking about or reacting to the report that was released by ESPN on Monday and getting his take on it. But joining me today to talk about Bradley Beal and how he feels like he's going to fit on the team is Law Murray of The Athletic. Law, it's nice to have you, Adam, Money Mona start to be kind of this consistent rotation for me here as my guests on Locked On.
Nice. Well, thanks for having me, and shout out to my guy Grant as well.
Yeah, man. So we got that little three-man weave. I want to kind of make it a starting five. So still looking for a spot. But let me ask you this, man. We talked after Bradley Beal got signed over the phone. I figured we just bring that conversation right here to the show. It's every Clipper fan that I know or like that follows me, at least a good 90% on YouTube, on Twitter. We're all very negative about the move, saying, you know, I don't know why we'd bring Brad back. It's going to stunt the growth of the young guys. He is an unnecessary piece at this point. Didn't prove much last year, got injured, has had a problem staying healthy the last couple of years. I'm pretty much in agreement with those people, but you offered a different perspective on the phone that night. You said that he's not guaranteed anything. You know, this is not 2021. He could be in the Bogdanovich role. You kept referring to the bogey role as we all know, you know, basically being a third string and didn't play. Had Adam Osland on today, and he thinks Beal's going to start. So you guys are at two total different ends of the spectrum. Explain your perspective on, you know, everything I was just saying about what we talked about.
Yeah, man, that was a great phone conversation. Almost wish you had just hit me while you were doing your show, because, I mean, obviously I didn't know what you were going to want to talk about, but, I mean, you saw what we wound up talking about. And, I mean, I'm just going to be the master of the obvious. Bradley Beal is coming off of major hip surgery. Like, he fractured his hip in November. Like, I think that he might be dribbling a basketball right now. But he is not as healthy as he was this time a year ago. And this time a year ago, he wasn't as healthy as the Clippers would have preferred. And so I think what winds up happening when a player who is a big name, and Bradley earned that big name. He was an All-NBA selection. He's had a 30-point season. He's a three-time All-Star, so people know who he is, even if they didn't watch the Washington Wizards his entire time there, or especially the end of his time there. That is not the player who they are getting. That's not the player that they're resigning here. Brad is a player who is going to need to earn everything that he gets as far as being on the floor, being able to sustain a role. Like, he hasn't played NBA basketball at all since November. He hasn't played NBA basketball at full strength, like fully healthy, since, what we're talking, April of 2025, maybe. So you have to consider those things. Like, by the time the season starts, that's a long time. Even if you were on the same team, like, he never established himself with the Clippers, even though he was given opportunities early with the Clippers, hoping there was going to be a long process to get him healthy, to get him to be the player that they signed. And his body wasn't a part of that because of the offseason that he had with the knee issue. And then he takes a charge in the first week of the season. He misses a couple of games. And then right when his minute restriction was going to be lifted, he fractures his hip. He has the surgery, all of that. And so I think that's the biggest conflict. I think people are reacting to the Bradley Beal that, again, there are people who wanted Brad to come off the bench last year. And it's like, there's always this misunderstanding of role based off of what fans get of sense of versus what reality is. Well, it's the same thing here. Like, Brad's not going to be handed anything. It's a new season, it's a new team, it's a new situation, and his body ain't what it was last year, let alone 5 years ago. So I think that's where things are at with Brad, and a lot of fans are also really soft when it comes to competition. He's going to stunt the young guys. Like, come on, man. Like, if the young players can beat out the dudes who they are competing against and they can play well, that's what matters. And I feel like that's what's going to matter ultimately. If those guys are worthy of playing time, they're going to earn that playing time, and and if they play well, they're going to keep that playing time. That's how it should be.
Well, so there are a couple of things I wanted to respond with there. So your overall take is he's coming off hip surgery. We're far removed from the days of him averaging 30 points. He's going to have to earn his spot just like anyone else. Now, Adam, I'm just going to use his argument because he's devil's advocate here. He was saying, last year, Beal's coming off an inefficient season, but a season in which, he's shown he's not really necessarily a star player anymore. You can have star caliber nights, but he's a good 17 points a game on efficient shooting and can do, playmaking, pick and roll a bit, play off the ball, pretty versatile offensive player. He was gifted the starting spot, and Ty Lue made comments like he's our third best player. And obviously that angered Clipper fans because it felt like not a shot to Ivica Zubac, but kind of a dismissal of how good Ivica Zubac was. So Adam just believes that he got shown so much respect last season that why not still get that respect when he didn't necessarily play bad? He never got into the swing of things. Are you saying that, the hip injury just makes all the difference?
He's not going, if he's ready for training camp, that's great for Brad. And even if he's ready for training camp, it's hip surgery. Like, he's not going to be the same basketball player going forward. Like, he's not the player that they signed in the 2025 offseason. He's not the guy that was supposed to be James Harden's handcuff when he needed ball handling relief, and that entire offense in the half court was going to need some relief from someone who could dribble and pass and shoot. Like, we don't know what Bradley Beal looks like in the context of an NBA setting as far as playing time, as far as what he can actually do on the court to help a team. Here's what he can do in general. Like, he's got a good relationship with a lot of people that are key stakeholders to the LA Clippers. And that is something that I feel like gets dismissed often. But in the interest of time, because I know you're on a time show here, like, I'm not going to go too deep into that. I think the main focus is last year you had a player who, once the Clippers felt like his body got up to speed, specifically his knee, then the Clippers were like, this is a player who's going to have a big impact in the regular season half-court offense, and they're going to hope that that player, in the context of how the Clippers personnel was and what their coaching was going to increase their playoff ceiling. For reasons that were laid bare, we never got close to that point. It's a completely different situation. So I feel like it's convoluted because we saw what happened with Brad, and it's the same player and the same team and the same coach, but everything else is different. It's a different body. It's Darius Garland, not James Harden. And yes, there are a lot more viable options for the Clippers to put out there on the floor instead of Brad. So
just trying to get, so you're basically insinuating that you don't think he's ever going to be the same player again. So what kind of player are you expecting? Let's say he is, just for sake of comparison, let's say he's starting again, this time alongside Garland, Ingram, Rui, and Lopez. Let's say that's the starting lineup. How many points do you think he averages a game, and how efficient?
I'm not looking at him as a starter, dude. I'm looking at him as a third string player.
That's just unbelievable. It's just amazing. Two guys very tapped in with the Clips. One is saying third string, one is saying starting. It's just amazing.
Here's some insight. They're not looking at Brad as a high minute player, a high shot player. They're looking at Brad as you have a place to continue to get your body back to the place that you want it to be. And that might not happen by the time the season starts. Okay. The expectations couldn't be lower. Whereas a year ago, the expectations were pretty elevated, especially considering what kind of season Brad was coming off of in Phoenix, playing for Bud. So I think that's the biggest disconnect, like Dynamite. I think it's really that simple. Now, just like Bogdanovic eventually found his way into minutes in November, especially when Brad was unavailable, right? Like, what kind of player are you expecting? Well, in theory, because everything is theoretical with a guy coming back from hip surgery. How many times we've said that, right? You're hoping that he can shoot the basketball at a decent clip. You're hoping that I don't think he's ever going to be a high free throw attempt rate guy ever again. We saw in Phoenix, that was the biggest thing that dropped off when people were saying Bradley Beal is better than Norman Powell. And I was like, pump your brakes, slow down. Y'all don't understand what Norman Powell was able to do in LA and what Brad has decreased in his ability since leaving Washington, right? Again, you had people super excited thinking Brad was going to be better than Norm. I was like, I don't think that's going to be the case. Like, there's not enough touches going around. Yes, he's playing with James Harden, whereas the point guard situation in Phoenix was a scam. But, like, it still has to come down to role. Like, you have to show something. Brad didn't show that he was that level of scorer in Phoenix. He did show that he was still a good decision maker when it came to shot selection. And he was a guy that had some viability as a shot creator for others. You're hoping you can get some of that, but like, I don't see it coming in a 25-minute role. Like, I think he'd be fortunate to get 15 minutes a game. And I think you're going to get a lot of DNP CDs for Brad to begin the season.
So just last question before we move on. First game, Bradley Beal's fully available. Now, a minutes restriction, but available. You don't think he's in the rotation? I'm assuming no one else on the roster is injured.
Yeah, if the team is at full strength, then I can see Brad being mothballed.
Okay. Wow. I would hope that they have that same approach that you're saying that they're going to have. I would hope so. But coming up, we're going to react to the latest of the ongoing discussion about the Clippers and aspiration. I got to tell you something about FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. And best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. And besides baseball and daily dingers, you can go to FanDuel to bet on anything. And Law, who you got as your MVP? Have you made that pick for this upcoming season? You got a favorite?
The upcoming NBA season, I would, let's give Anthony Edwards a little shout there.
Okay, well, interesting. Anthony Edwards for MVP right now on FanDuel. They've got him at 7th, even behind Jason Tatum and Giannis. That's pretty surprising to me. Honestly, plus 2,000 for Anthony Edwards, I would consider making the bet there right now while the odds are still good before the season starts. But where can you go to bet on that and daily dingers? FanDuel. So are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. All right, back here with Clipper beat writer Law Murray of The Athletic. Are you still considered a Clipper beat writer, or because you're covering other teams as well, or just a general NBA writer?
Let's say all of the above, man. I mean, that's one of my beats. So
yeah, is it? Would you say it's your main beat?
I would say. I mean, everything else. Let's just put it this way. Like, I'm more likely to be leaned on for stuff that happens with the Clippers, and obviously I'm looking forward to talking about basketball. That's what people lean on me most for, but there are other things that happen that aren't about basketball, and I'm around.
There we go. Now, let's just react quickly to the latest news. Now, of course, there was an article released by ESPN with several contributing journalists that said that the Clippers have been found of no wrongdoing essentially so far in the investigation. But then there was a statement that came out from the NBA that there are numerous inaccuracies. What was your overall takeaway from hearing this stuff? Would you say it's good news for Clipper fans?
No, I would not say it's good news for Clipper fans. I think what you want is a resolution, and I'm still not feeling like that resolution is happening in the short term. And when I say short term, I mean this week, next week. You know what I'm saying? Like before Labor Day, before the NFL season starts. I mean, kids are back in school already, man. Like, shoot, it's the back in school feeling that we get covering the league and that players get, is reporting for media day and the next day training camp. And that clock is ticking louder and louder by the week. And so what I got from all this is that we are just going to that this is messy. I was looking forward to hearing from the league. I still am looking forward to hearing from the league. And all the league pretty much said was that there's a message that's being put out that they are not co-signing at this time. They wanted to say that publicly. They wanted to hint that things would be cleared up by the conclusion of this investigation. They deferred an opportunity to clear it up right then and there. They're like, we actually can tell you that we will clear this up after the break. that's how it felt to me. So yeah, I don't know if you're a fan. I don't really look at this as a good thing. I just look at it as another layer to what has already been a messy year.
Another layer to what's already been a messy year. Do you have a prediction on when you think the NBA will come out with the proposed either punishments or no punishments?
Pick your best Friday that you can news dump on. Yeah, that's where I'm at, man. Friday before Labor Day seems quite appropriate if you want to talk about what might be convenient or not. So what day is that? The 4th, the first Friday of September. Yeah, I'm gonna clear my schedule. Make sure that if I get a lift in, it's gonna be early. Get some shots up, it's gonna be early. Have my portable chargers on me. Yeah, you want me to put a date on it, Dime? That's the date that I might be going with. If you want me to be clairvoyant about it.
Well, I guess we just have to wait and see, which is what we've been doing for a very, very long time. It's. I want to talk about some of the discussions that we had about how the investigation not being resolved is holding back our roster. But then it came as a shock when we saw the Bradley Beal news become official. So we're going to look at the rest of the roster, and I want to get your take on that.
Yeah.
The problem of finding clothes that you can live in all day, be comfortable, and do whatever you need to do, whether it's just chilling, going to meetings, playing golf, being on the move, that problem has been solved by Cozy Earth. The everyday polo is the answer. It's lightweight, built to move with you, just easy to wear everywhere. I've got it on right now, and it's fabulous. Plus, the Cozy Earth Essential Socks, they're exactly what the name suggests. Soft, supportive, comfortable enough that you stop thinking about them halfway through the day. Plus, Cozy Earth backs everything with a 10-year warranty and hassle-free returns. So if something isn't quite right, you're covered. That makes trying them for yourself an easy decision. I've got the Cozy Earth Everyday Polo in blue and in black. Check them out at CozyEarth.com. Use the code LOCKEDON for 20% off. That's right, Locked On for an exclusive 20% off. And if you see a post-purchase survey, please mention you heard about it right here, CozyEarth.com.
All right. Back here with La Marita, the Athletic, to talk about Bradley Beal signing. And more specifically, we talked the last time you came on just a couple of weeks ago, and the big takeaway was don't expect anything to happen until we get a resolution on this trade, or the investigations of the trade goes through, and then the Clippers have more, clarity of what their roster looks like, how many players are on the roster, financial clarity. Now we got Bradley Beal added to the mix. That puts us at 14 standard contracts, 15 if you count Cam Christie. And this is assuming that the trade has not gone through. We're talking just Kawhi. But you were the person that told me, I don't think this has anything to do with Ben Mathurin not being on the team. Talked to Adam today. He felt like the signing of Bradley Beal makes it less likely that Ben Mathurin is a Clipper. What is your take on the likelihood of Ben Mathurin coming back?
Yeah, Ben Mathurin's camp is not surprised by Brad being back, and they're not looking at Brad being back as something that's going to affect whether Bennedict Mathurin is back. So I guess you could say that that's the complete opposite feeling that I have. But it checks out. Like when Brad opted out, the messaging immediately was that Brad was open to coming back and that the Clippers were open to having him back. In fact, they would welcome him back. So Brad went and saw what was out there for him, and he wanted to stay with the Clippers. And the Clippers obviously had that spot for him. It reminds me of Draymond Green opting out of his deal with the full knowledge that not only was he going to be back, but you saw the number Draymond Green came back at. It was the same number that he basically opted out for. I think teams want to make sure, especially with veterans, that, there's that courtesy. And again, I think that's another disconnect that a lot of fans might have, which is an understandable disconnect, but it's, these agents are working in tandem with these front offices. These veterans, especially, they want to be taken care of to a certain extent, where it's like if they put themselves out there for a risk, they don't want to be burned by that risk. I think you might do that to one player, but other agents and other players, they see what happens and they keep those things in mind when it's time for them to submit their services to one of these organizations. So with that in mind, that's the feeling with Brad. It's like, he's back. They're happy to have him back. Brad obviously has a lot of considerations outside of playing the game of basketball that helped him come back. His wife just had a child. Darius being here is big for Brad. Like Darius played on Brad's AAU team. They've had a long relationship. And I think it's a good thing for someone like Darius Garland to have a sounding board, a vet that he respects, as he begins his first full season and significantly more impactful season as a face of the Clippers. I just think that was a big part of it. And if you bring back Bennedict Mathurin, I've got a spot on my little chart that has that big question mark on it. And yeah, you can pretty much see where Ben might fit in there. On the flip side, I think a lot of people have been excited about Peyton Watson and talking about Peyton Watson, about how he would fit the Clippers. And I don't think that's a transaction that's happening. Certainly not this offseason. So someone's got to really want Ben. Don't think that's materializing, especially for what Ben wants. And there's no burned bridges. I don't think there's been any real animosity. And Brad's addition was not something that negatively affected whatever dynamic is going on between Mathurin and the Clippers.
So with Ben, right, people are going to wonder, well, we don't have a roster spot. Now, the obvious move would be that we don't give Cam Christie a new deal. Do they have to give him a new deal, or does he have that?
They don't have to. He's under contract.
Right. Okay. So
he's
just
non-guaranteed
right
until
guaranteed.
October 15th. So in other words, and what may wind up happening, because we talked about Jason Preston's situation, because that's the last time people remember the Clippers kicking the can on one of their second round picks, right? Cam originally had a guarantee date at the end of June, just like Chris Dunn did. Chris Dunn, that's an easy decision to guarantee his deal, right? Cam, it's like, let's see what the options are. Now, on June 30th, you thought you had a Kawhi trade, but also you wanted Cam to get a chance to showcase something in Summer League. Not the best sign, but it's like, hey, let's delay it a month or 3 weeks, really, and we'll revisit. Well, obviously, the Kawhi trade got put on hold, but also Cam played a good first quarter in the first game of Summer League. It was all downhill from there, and then he got hurt and missed games. So that led to a decision where, okay, we want to bring Cam to camp. And unlike Jason Preston, who got an October 1st, kicked the can after Summer League and didn't make it to camp, Cam's guarantee date is October 15th. He'll be able to start camp unless things change. We got to see. There's a lot of holding patterns involved. And so I think it might be a long shot for Cam to be on the roster when regular season week 1 hits. But Cam is, you never know, man. That's why these teams sign up to 21 players for the offseason, because you never know who's going to be hurt. You never know who's going to really pop. You just don't know. So that's where we're at.
Well, let's say the trade does go through and the Clippers are operating with Ingram and Grady Dick. That gives us 16 players. We don't bring Cam back. That brings us to 15, but we want to make room for Mathurin. Who would then be on the move? Would we have to trade someone? Would we waive a guy? What would you think would be the most logical way to get Ben on the roster?
Well, the way you got to look at all-season stuff as well is, you can have up to 21 guys. That includes whoever you have on your maximum of 3 two-way contract spots. And so you got to come into camp, and a lot of times you get guys rolling in, rolling out. I'm pretty sure Fletcher Lawyer, for example, guy no one talks about, but he was on the Summer League team. I'm pretty sure he's going to be in camp, right? Like, how long he's in camp, who knows? Is he expected to be on the team? Absolutely not. He's Yuki Kamura is another guy. He's on an E10. He's going to be in camp. More than likely, he will be with the San Diego Clippers to start next season. If you complete this trade, you bring Bennedict Mathurin back, then, you can probably see a scenario where Cam Christie doesn't make the team. Janai Broom, they'll try and either rehome him or, eat the guaranteed contract that he has. Because with Cam, you can let him go before his contract guarantees. Janai Broom's guaranteed for next season based off the contract that he signed after being a second-round pick last year by the Philadelphia 76ers. So, the Clippers want to see what they got. Like, they need bigs. They're going to try a lot of options there. But if they complete this trade and there's not another shoe to drop, there's not a surprise deal out there to bolster the center options, and those are, I would say, the two guys that are on center contracts now that might not be on center contracts come week 1.
Broom and Christie, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll see. Last question I wanted to ask you about. Thoughts on Jalen Pickett? Two-way?
Jalen Pickett is interesting because obviously a second-round pick by the Nuggets and a player who, if you remember the Nuggets-Clippers playoff series from 2015, Pickett started that series sort of on the fringes of the rotation. And so, the Nuggets tried playing Jalen Pickett. They really tried playing him. And so, he's not a bad shooter. He's just not a guy who's going to shoot it a lot. He's certainly not a very aggressive scorer. And I feel like Pickett wound up playing with so many guys that even though he is by trade a point guard, he didn't really play a lot of point guard. Like you're playing with Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic. Last year, Bruce Brown was basically their backup point guard. Like Pickett didn't really get a chance to really show much there. I think that it's more the draft pedigree really does a lot of work here. I think he played well in college. I think he's a efficient player. He understands where he can get his shots from. He has a nose for the ball. As far as rebounding, not as much as far as forcing turnovers. Certainly not at the NBA level, and really not even at Penn State. But I feel for Sean Padula. I thought Sean he earned a spot last year, and Sean is with the Houston Rockets now on a 2-way contract. So it'll be very interesting to see. But I just think that the Clippers wanted a guy that they could say, hey, if we have legitimate point guard depth on a contract that you can get a guy on, you don't have to give a guy a 2-way, a standard deal. You can get him on a 2-way. Like Jalen's got legitimate NBA experience for a guy on a 2-way. That's how I look at it.
For sure. And I'm happy to hear about Sean Padula. I actually didn't know that. So best of luck to him with Houston. If you were a betting man, would you bet on Ben Mathurin being in a Clipper jersey over the field next season?
To start the year, I think I'd bet on Ben being with the Clippers.
All right. Love to hear that. Man, here's actually, I thought of one other one. So you have this series on Twitter that you do, and it's in your pin tweet, the Epitome Game series, where you pick one game from each team in the league to represent kind of how their season went, if they missed the playoffs or if they made the playoffs. Clippers being the team that missed the playoffs, you chose a game at Houston. Is that the game that Nicholas Batum stepped over the line?
That is that game.
So why did you choose that game? What was the criteria that you found, or the stat that you chose to represent the Clippers in that game?
Yeah. First of all, shout out to you for seeing that I've been doing that. It's something that I enjoy doing at this time of the year. And the Clippers, to me, their biggest weakness last season was the defensive glass specifically. The Clippers have had periods where their defensive rebounding has been disappointing. They've also had periods where their defensive rebounding has been really good. I thought Tyronn Lue's first season with the Clippers did a really good job on the defensive glass. I thought Jeff Van Gundy coming in, he did a great job getting the Clippers to rebound, even though that team was not a big team outside of, the backcourt with James Harden and Ivica Zubac starting at center. Like they were starting Derrick Jones Jr. For a long stretch at the 4. Obviously, Kawhi didn't play until January, right? That was the Clippers were a great defensive rebounding team until the playoffs when they got mauled by Aaron Gordon. So I thought that was a huge issue for them last year. And that particular game at Houston, it was a huge problem. So I hope people see that video, especially if you're prepared to see disappointment and be reminded about what I felt like was the worst game that the Clippers played from a defensive rebounding standpoint.
Fair enough. I mean, I thought John Collins would be a big answer to that, but it didn't.
He didn't have a single rebound in that game, by the way.
Didn't materialize, unfortunately. So, John Collins is good at certain things. I just thought maybe the Aaron Gordon comparisons definitely fell flat. But let people know where they can find you, Law, and the rest of the series. It's on next. I already spoiled that.
It is on there. It's on YouTube. So yeah, I have a YouTube channel, and apparently I need to use it more. But that is where I'm hosting those videos. Besides the Rest in Peace Twitter, and eventually I'll get them on my other platforms. But y'all see the handle. Handle has been unchanged since 2009. Dime.
Wow.
So yeah, that's where. And obviously, as always, shout out to The Athletic. Yeah.
Appreciate it,
as working,
always.
Man. We've been working.
There we go, man. Appreciate it, dude. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at @DimeDropper_LA. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at DimeDropperPod. And of course, Dime Dropper on YouTube for more LA Clipper, LA sports, and NBA content, and Locked On Clippers. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Let us know what you thought of the episode, including our thoughts on Bradley Beal. Where do you think he's going to fit into the Clippers rotation? The age-old proverb continues, go Clippers.